Hey everybody, welcome back to video number 2, where I'll be going into showing you guys a little bit of how our playtesting process works. In our first video, we talked about how we get a data source or a design file, which is right here in front of me, Project X, and how we got that imported into Cocktail. So that was our first video. In this video, we're going to be talking about how do we create cards. So we have all that information in Cocktail. We have, a nice design file here. Let's make some magic. Let's create some cards so we can actually play test them. So let's go ahead and load up what we did in our last video, Project X. We created that folder. Here's our Cocktail file, Project X. Let's open this up. Okay, and so as you'll see, this is basically where we left off, right? If we click this, we can see our data source. Click on Project X. This is all the card names that we had. So this is essentially where we left off yesterday. In this video, we're going to create a card frame. So let's go ahead and start now. So if we go up here to Layouts, close Data Sources. If we go up here to Layouts, we want to create a new layout or a new template. And so we're going to go ahead and click on this button right here, New Layout, this icon. Or you can go up to File, Add New, and Layout. I know yesterday or in our last video, I could not find Data Source, but it was right here. So just pointing that out. So let's click on New Layout, and it's going to give us a blank canvas. And so initially what we're going to do is we want to shrink this to the size of what a standardized card would look like, the right dimensions. And so that size, which I'll let you guys know, is 735 width by 1035 height. So this is essentially the size of like a playing card, and this will fit nicely. And we use this size because it allows us to print about 9 different cards on a single page. So this is what we use in-house. This is what we're going to use in this video. So from here, the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a frame, right? We want to create an outline. So we have a couple different icons here. We have Draw a Line. We have Draw a Rectangle, Draw Shapes, Ellipses, Polygons, and then we have some text. So the thing we want to click on is we want to go to Draw a Rectangle. So we click on this. And basically all you want to do is, it doesn't have to be perfect, you just want to take it from one corner, drag it, and just kind of put an outline around this canvas. And so if we look over here to the right, we see the X and Y dimensions are 0, 0, and we want to make sure that this matches what our canvas dimensions are. So 735 width by 1035 height. This X and Y axis is essentially just showing you where do you want to start that line on the page, right? So if we wanted to increase the x-axis and shrink it a little bit, it would start a little bit farther to the right. If we wanted to decrease if we wanted the y-axis to start somewhere slightly different also, we could put 75, so it would shrink the template slightly. But we don't want to do that. Let's just keep it simple. We already made our canvas the right size. Let's just go to 0, 0 here. And generally what you want to do, the first thing you want to do with the outline or the frame is you want to create you want to make sure it's a little bit thicker, right? So right here we have stroke thickness. Right now it's currently black. Let's make it 20. So what we're doing right now is we've created a frame, and this will be really useful because if we ever decide that we want to change the color of this frame, right, for our reasons, for prototype reasons, and say it gives us a visual cue of representing different factions or different types of cards if we so choose, right? We can use different colors for this border. So it's really useful. Okay, so we have a nice looking frame here, or outline. So let's go ahead and, right here, this is the feature, this is the layer. We're going to call it, let's double click on this and we can rename this. So we're going to call this border frame. Okay. So we have a border frame. Now let's put all of these headers and attributes onto the card, right? So we need a name, we need a card type, we need text, and then we have the color, which we will link later. But for now, let's create the name layer here. So let's go back to our Cocktail file. And we need to create a space for the names. We're going to do the very similar thing. We're just going to create a smaller rectangle, right? So we're going to take a rectangle. Usually we always put the names at the top of our cards. We'll do that for this purpose. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm just going to eyeball it, draw a rectangle. I usually like to just make these kind of nicer numbers, so we want it to match up with the border here. So we'll do 0, 0. The width is still 735. It's going from all the way from the left all the way to the right side of the card. The height is 200. Seems about right. 201. Let's make it 200. And let's increase the thickness of this as well. So let's make this 20 as well. 15? Yeah, that's fine. All right, so we have a nice little area here that we can put the title or the name in, sorry, of the card. So we've done that, and let's go ahead and name this layer name frame. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do, so we have the name down. If we go back to our document, we've got the name designated area for a name taken care of. What about type? Okay, so let's create this as well. So we want this information to be put on the card. So let's go back to our cocktail file and let's create another rectangle. And we'll just put it somewhere in the middle of the card. So we'll put it here, a little smaller. And we'll look at the dimensions. Again, it's 5, so we'll do 525 maybe. 735, we always do this. And then the height. Now, how thick do we want it, or how high do we want this to be? Let's go 100. That seems about right. Okay, so we have this. Let's increase the thickness on the border. So let's make this 10, a little bit smaller than the name. And here we go. So now we can put a card type down here. If it has a faction, this is just another place that we'll be putting information on. So let's go ahead and rename this. This is going to be. Okay, so our card frame is looking pretty good right now. So the next thing we want to do, if we go back to our design file, is we want to put some text in here, right? We're going to need text across the board, right? We need to make sure that the name shows up, the type, all that stuff. So let's go back to our file. And one of the things I think I need to make sure that we do, sorry about this, is we need to go back to, let's see, is project X, is it layout, data source, here we go. Yeah, we want to go back to our original data source, and we need to make sure, now that we're creating a layout, we need to go here, you see this default, I said we were going to talk about this later in the last video, so we want to go to default front layout, and make sure that it is layout 0, which is what we have up here. So let's rename layout 0, if we can do this, let's see. So we're just going to name this project X, or maybe we'll just name this card frame. Okay. So this is card frame now, which is what you'll see here. This is what we're calling this card. If we had, sometimes you can have different types of cards that maybe are horizontal or vertical, the way the information is presented, right? So if we wanted this card to say be represented differently, where it is sideways or horizontal, and we want the card to look different, we could actually create a new frame for that. But for now, we're just going to stick with one frame. It's going to be card frame. So let's go back to our data source, and we need to make sure that our default front layout is going to be card frame. Let's line that up. So that basically means that it's going to read this card frame and put the information onto, or output the information based on using this card frame. Okay, so we've done that. We've got the type frame. Now let's just go ahead and put some text in it, right? Because I think that is the next step. We've got the name in there. We've got the type in there. They aren't showing up yet because we still have to link it, which I'll show you in a second. But we've created the area, the designated area on the card for where this information is going to be put. So now let's put some text in here. So we want all this information to show up on each card. So let's go back to our templates. Okay, so now we want to create a text frame. So let's go ahead and go here. You see the text, place text. This is one of the icons. So let's just go ahead and create text. We'll make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so we got some dimensions here of, let's go 25. So it's not exactly hugging the border. Otherwise, some of the letters could be in the border frame. You don't want that. You want it to be inside of the box. So we'll go a y-axis. So let's bring it down a little bit, maybe 630. 650. There we go. Let's push it in a little bit more. So let's go 40. So let's get it nice and centered. That looks about right. Okay. So then we have a width of 735. Okay. Across, and then we're going to go with a height of, say, 400. Okay. There we go. And now what you see in here, essentially, what you see in here is this gibberish, right? Lorem ipsum dollar sit emet. So we basically want to make sure that the information we have in the sheet, this is what we want. in that text, right? So let's go back to our card frame. And so the way that we're going to do this is, you see this text right here? We're going to go to this little link. We're going to click on this link, and we're going to go to direct and link to, and we're just going to find the header like we did earlier on the first video about lining these up, right? We did card ID, then we did name, so the cocktail will read it. We're just going to go to text. Okay, that should be fine. I think everything else is fine. So, and then we're going to name this text is fine. Text is fine. All right, so we lined that up. So what did that do? So let's go ahead and look back at Project X. Now let's look on Carnival Barker. There we go. So basically what that did, it's a little bit off, you can see, so I need to adjust how it's displaying the information, maybe make the font a little bit smaller. But as you can see, what Cocktail just did is it lined up the header to that text box that we just created, which is right here. We go down to text. So that text, that link that we just created right here, by connecting this, we did a direct link to the data sheet to this header. It's basically what just happened. And it's just spitting out whatever's in this field. And so that's how that worked. I think we need to rearrange some of this information. So I think it was too wide. So I think I'm going to go with like 700. Let's make the font a little bit smaller. 400. Sorry, 40. Okay, let's look back at our file, and that looks a lot better, right? So now if we go through each of these cards, yep, we are seeing a bunch of the different text here, which is great. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is have our names represented, right? So let's go ahead and create another text box at the top, right? So we're going to create another text box within this frame that we created earlier, and we're just going to go ahead and make this it's going to be 30, 40. What did I do for the other one? Let me look real quick. I did X of 50, so I should probably stay the same there. So X of 50, the Y is going to be obviously different because it's much higher up on the card. So let's go with actually we want to be over 50. We want to be in the middle of that. Okay, so we'll do that. The height is, let's make it nice, 175. Width is 700. Okay, there we go. So we have this the name set up, and we have to do the same exact thing that we just did with the text, right? We still have this gibberish, so let's go to the text drop-down menu here. We'll click on the link. We're going to go to direct link. Let's go line it up with name. Okay, so that should be that. Let's go ahead and rename this layer. We're going to say name text. Okay, that is there. So now if we look at our cards again, hey, look at it. There it is. We got some text. We got the names there. I mean, it's not the right size, but we can definitely work on that a little bit. So let's go back to name text. There's an option to actually center it. So here we go. If we want to text align it, we want to put it in the center. Let's see how that looks. Okay, it's getting better. Getting a little bit better. So I think we can actually just redo the dimensions again. So if we go to, let's try 0 and 60 is fine with, so I'm just going to do the original dimensions. Let's try this. Okay, let's take a look at what this looks like. Pretty good. Pretty good. It could be a little bit bigger, I imagine. So let's increase the font size to, say, 75. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so we have some longer ones. I wonder if there's a fit to, I think there might be an option to make sure that it fits to space. Spacing, paragraph spacing. Don't see that. Okay, so we're just going to decrease the size for now. But yeah, so essentially we have our card name as well, right? So we have our card name, we have a text box here for the game text. Ideally, we would just do the same exact thing for the type, right? If we want this information, the type to be represented here, all we would do is just create another text box there. So we can do that real quick. Practice. So let's just create one more text box. We'll go here. Okay, here is our other text box, and let's just make sure the dimensions are decent. 535 with 700, sorry, 735, height 80, and then let's center this. Let's go center. 0. There we go. Okay. So we have this centered. I don't think we want 50 size text for this, so let's go like 30. 25. I'll try 40. It's centered, and then let's see what this looks like. Actually, sorry, we still have to link it, right? All right, so let's go back to text. Let's rename this to text, and then we're going to go link this, right? So we got to go to text. We're going to click on this. We're going to go direct. We're going to go to type, and then we should be able to see it now. There we go. So now we have sideshow, events. Yep. Perfect. So all of our information in our type file is now showing up as well, which is great. We can probably increase the size and bring it down just a little bit. Once again, my OCD kind of kicking in here. So let's go to type. Let's do 50 maybe, and then let's bring it down a little bit on the y-axis. Let's do 530. Let's try that. There we go. Cool. So here we are. We have our card. We have a name for it. This is a basic frame. We have our name for it. We have the type it is. We have the text box. And now one of the last things that we might want to do is we might want to change the color of the border, right? Or the frame, basically. And we want to do that because it's just visually much easier to see that when you're playtesting. Rather than always looking at the type line, right? You're just looking at text. If you have a visual cue that tells you, hey, this is a different type of card, it really helps. So let's go ahead and look at that. Okay, like I said, the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add the last piece of the puzzle, which is the color to each of these cards. So let's dive into this, and that should be the end of this video. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change all these borders, right, to different colors. So I think right now we have blue, purple, green, and that's it. So we have and red. So we have 4 different colors here. It's really going to help in our prototyping and playtesting if those are different colors, because they're different types of cards. So we're going to go to this border frame right here, right? So we're going to have to go through each of these frames, the name frame, the type frame, and the border frame. And we're going to change the color, but based on what the information is in here, right? So based on this information, if it is this, if we have this input, then it is going to give us a different output in Cocktail. So let's do that. So let's go to, right now, currently the whole board, we're in the border frame, which is the outside border. Currently it is all black, right? The stroke is black. If we change the color, it would be blue, right? And so what we want to do, the reason why this part is black and this part is black is because those are different frames. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to go to stroke, we're going to go to mapped, and then we're going to go to, so the same thing, we're going to go to, not direct this time, we're going to go to mapped, and we're going to go add. So essentially what we're going to do now is we're going to go to color, right? So we're going to go to, click on the stroke, click on the little wrench, or the little icon here, we're going to go to link to. What header do we want to link this to? We want to link this to color, right? Because that's what we're dealing with right here. We're linking this to color, so that way it will output some information here. So when we go to color, it's going to give us all 4 options that we have on this sheet, right? So we have 4 different options: red, purple, green, and blue. So let's go back. And so essentially what we're going to tell this is if, it's an if and statement. So if that text says blue, if that column, if the information on the sheet, it says if this output is blue on this data sheet, then we want Cocktail to turn to use this stroke, right? So we're going to go ahead and just use the current stroke that we're using. Okay, so if it's blue, we're going to use blue. Okay, then we're going to add another one. We're going to say, if it's red, we're going to go look up a red stroke, and let's just find red. Okay, let's add another one. If it's purple, we got to find purple now. So let's go to a purplish color. We'll just click on this, and now we have purple. Let's add one more. We have green. So let's go to green, and then we'll go look for a green color. Okay, so there we go. So now we have these colors set. So what we can do is if we go look back at our cards, if we go to the project, look at that. It's reading from that file what color it is based on this information, right? So if we look at pickpockets, it should be purple. So if we look at the field over here in the data sheet, it is purple, right? So it's just lining that up. That's all it's basically doing. And now we have a distinction. It helps a lot when we're play testing. This is a good way to initially just, like I said earlier, is like, hey, this is a different faction or a different type of card. Like I said, it's really hard to read the fine print sometimes on cards, but they all look the same. Okay, so basically we just want to do the same thing for all these other frames, right? So we have a border frame, we have a name frame, so we just want to go ahead and we would just do the same thing. We would just go back to, we'll do it one more time to make sure everybody's on the same page. We're going to go to stroke here. We're going to go to mapped. We're going to go to add. We're going to go to link to color. That's what we want as well. And like blue, we're just going to copy. We want to make sure it's the same colors that we used recently. Otherwise, it's going to look pretty weird. So we're going to go red. We'll just make sure that's red. We'll go to purple. We'll just make sure we use the recent color purple. And then we're going to go to green. I think we chose 2 greens, so we're using the dark purple. Okay. And then we should be able to deal with that. Let's look at our thing. And now the top. So I guess we'll just finish this out real quick. I know it's, but you know, more times we do it, the easier it is to process, I think. So we'll go to the last frame, which is the type frame. So let's do that. Same process. We're going to go to stroke. Sorry, type frame. We're going to go to stroke. We're going to click on maps. We're going to click into color. We're going to go blue. Make sure it matches. Add, so we'll just add 4 of these. We'll go to red, red will line up with red, purple will line up with purple that we used, and green will line up with green. Okay, so now let's take a look at our card. Go back, and there it is. So there we have it. We have now, this is basically, we have created a card that has some features, some attributes, and there's a distinction. We use color to show what, to also add to it being a different type. We have the name, we have the type, we have some text. It's off a little bit here. You can tell I didn't quite put that directly in the center, but that's all trial. I mean, we can always fix that. But yeah, essentially we have some cards here. And so now we are basically coming to the conclusion of this video. The next video, I will show you the 2 different processes that we use. So one of them, I'll create a set for you guys. So we'll create a set of cards. We'll print them out. I'll show you what a printout looks like. You can see the page setup of what it would look like if we would print them out, cut them up, and sleeve them and play with them. That's usually what we used to do prior to COVID and everything that's happened. And then the next video essentially will be just a bare bone minimum of the process we use now, which is Tabletop Simulator. So I'm going to show you how to import a set of cards that we'll create into Tabletop Simulator, and that is essentially how we do all of our playtesting now. So that's it for now. Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, I'm sure we'll be answering them, and thanks a lot.